Good morning. You're listening to FloorDaily.net, and I'm Kemp Harr. This morning, my guest is Neil Poland, the CEO of Mullican Flooring, one of the top 5 hardwood flooring producers in the U.S. Neil, how you doing?
Great, Kemp, but probably not as good as you. How is Longboat Key this morning?
It's sunny, and it's going to be a little hot, but it's nice down here on the water. Thanks for asking.
Great place. Love Longboat Key.
Yeah. You went to school in Florida, as a matter of fact.
Yep, I grew up in North Florida. Went to UF, worked in Tampa in the flooring business for several years after college.
Well, I wanted to talk to you about kind of the state of the business. Let's catch up first. Just how is business with Mullican right now?
Well, Kemp, I guess, to give you a perfect comparison of how I feel about it, 2021 was like Christmas Day for the hardwood flooring business and probably for the flooring industry. And 2022 is more like Halloween. It's fun, exciting, a lot of demand still there, but scary with inflation, the Russians, supply issues, out of balance demand across various product lines.
Very interesting metaphor. I like it. Let me just go through some stats from our annual report in the May issue. We took a look, and revenue in the hardwood business was down 7.4% in 2020. But in 21, it was up 23%. So, if the total flooring market was up 20% in 21, so you beat that by 3%. But then we've got to admit, much of that increase, or at least half of that increase, is probably due to price increases, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, definitely the price increases driven by, obviously, the cost of lumber, veneer, raw materials, necessitated the reason that the industry had so many price increases. But I'll also say, if you go back and look at 2020, we really lost a lot of production. Reason the industry was down 7% in 2020 was everybody just in April and May during the height of COVID cut back their production for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
So getting that production back online in 2020 help strengthen the numbers and generate the growth.
Well, tell us what some of the hurdles that you're facing and the industry's facing today.
Well, I still think labor is the largest hurdle. Whether it's in manufacturing plants, it's very difficult to keep your bottom 10 or 15% of your employees. There's just phenomenal turnover in those positions. People really don't like to work night shift. It's incredibly difficult to keep a good staff on night shift production and factory, but probably for the flooring industry, the biggest impact is installation and in the field. There's a really huge shortage with the industry trying to catch up. Installation, installers, trade to work that has a specific skill in home building. So it's really still the biggest issue out there, and hopefully it slowly improves, but it's impacted the installed cost of not just wood flooring, but all floor covering.
Where is the consumer today, on the decision of buying a real hardwood floor versus a look-alike floor?
Well, I think for several reasons, the consumer, especially the mid to upper price points of wood flooring, has moved back to wood from trying LVT. I think there was a great interest and appeal of a new product back in 2017, 18, and 19 to where consumers, even on the high end, were putting in SPC, where today I feel like homes over $600,000, that's trended back towards wood, ceramic, stone, other typical higher end surfaces. And I think there's good reason for it. One, this installed cost. Installers really don't differentiate. For laminate or LVT, they typically charge about the same installed price as they would for a wood floor. Therefore, the percentage increase in wood, because it's a higher end product, isn't as great as the move up with, say, LVT. Then the third segment or part of this is the price of real estate. The appreciation in homes has been tremendous. So someone that's had several $100,000 of appreciation, they're going to be more comfortable with spending it on an upgrade such as for wood flooring than they are at a lower price point of home. So that's, I think, also, moved in our favor. And I mean, if you look at the whole industry, construction is so strong, and I think wood always has a higher share in new construction than we do in remodeling.
You and I've talked about this before, but the RSA is still a problem. I mean, most of us know that the retail sales associate doesn't get paid until the floor is put in, and some of these click floors are faster to go in and don't require quite the skill level. So sometimes they'll drive the consumer that way just because they want to get their commission check, and that's the wrong driver, would you say?
Yeah, I would agree. There's certainly that short-term phenomenon and appeal, and really that was just hyper speed during the pandemic.
And what's your expectations for the rest of this year?
Well, I think it's probably choppy. I think on the one hand, you've got a huge backlog in new construction, largely due to shortage of labor, but also due to shortage of materials and parts of the construction process. But I think the new construction will keep the demand firm the rest of the year, but remodeling's way off. If you have a hurricane and you have this huge remodeling upsurge or replacing floors, same thing in the pandemic. I mean, people that hadn't thought of replacing their floor covering in years were sitting there looking at it, and they ran out and decided it was a good time to do that. And we're now paying the price. I mean, there is a significantly lower demand in remodeling, but a pretty good demand in place. Hopefully mortgage rates don't scare off too many new buyers into the future. But I think the rest of the year it could be choppy, but it should be okay.
Growth, but slower growth, probably.
Yeah.
But one last quick question, because it was a big news item in this sector of the business, is were you surprised to hear that the Somerset wood flooring business was sold to Bauwerk, a European company?
I really wasn't surprised that Somerset sold, but I was surprised that a European manufacturer acquired Somerset. And if you look at it historically, the European manufacturers have not had great success buying wood flooring manufacturers in the U.S. And although it played out over a long period of time, when Tarkett bought Harris many years ago and then built a plant here, it was a long struggle. I worked for the company for 4 years, and they just couldn't ever quite get the U.S. market to perform like they did in Europe. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out in the future.
Well, thanks again for spending time with our listeners and telling us what's going on as one of the leaders in this sector of the business. Again, I've been talking to Neil Poland, the CEO with Mullican Flooring based in Johnson City, and you've been listening to Kemp Harr and FloorDaily.net.